Well, as summer winds down and school ramps back up again, I wanted to share a special recap episode from our May Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental health is so important, and we all need to continue to make sure that our mental health is a priority. I encourage you to listen to our mental health guests and experts, Samara, Jason, Manny, Erica, Norna. We had so many amazing people on to talk about their journey of mental health and the knowledge around what they shared in our conversation is a really important topic and something that I hope that you enjoy.
As you know, we are honoring May as Mental Health Awareness Month, and all month long we've got incredible guests, and today is no different. I've got my friend and colleague, Dr. Erica Lander Miller. She is the founder and clinical director of the Behavioral Care Center of New Jersey. She specializes in the practice of cognitive behavioral therapy, which you've heard a lot of on this podcast, DBT, motivational interviewing, and ACT.
I think we both feel really strongly about providing good care and
We do.
trying to help support other clinicians who are also interested in bringing good, solid, mindful, compassionate care. At an interesting training a week or two ago talking about the intense spike up in stress that parents experienced during COVID. And those rates of stress have not returned to pre-COVID levels.
That's wild, because a lot of stuff has returned.
A lot of things have returned.
Wow.
And that is one thing that has not come back down is the intensity of stress parents are reporting. It just sort of has stayed at COVID levels, even now that the world has opened up and we're kind of getting back to life as normal.
And I'm happy to have Samara here because she's in California. And they're an amazing couple, her and Neil. And they lost their beloved son, Anthony, to suicide last year. And Anthony was an incredible young adult with a bright future ahead. And both Neil and Samara are here to share their deeply personal story with us. So thank you, Samara, for being here to talk about your son, Anthony.
Well, it's been raw and real. And, just kind of the way it happened was, after he committed his suicide, initially he was resuscitated and was then hospitalized for 9 weeks. And during that time, he had sustained severe brain damage. And we were pretty hopeful the whole time that he would, have some quality of life. And so what happened during that time was we were surrounded with community and people gave us a voice, and we were just kind of cracked open. And so I think often what happens in suicide is that there's so much stigma and shame around it that people don't talk about it. Yeah. And because of how it happened with his situation, we were kind of, exposed right away. And I think given an opportunity to be vulnerable, but in a safe way with a community that was really supportive of us. Yeah. And so it's just been a continuation of that journey. I mean, obviously there's tremendous pain in it, but there's also this transformation that's happened of turning our pain into purpose and sharing that message and being vulnerable and talking about it and finding that the authenticity and that by the nature of us coming out, that people are also finding courage to share their stories. And in that is where the healing happens. And we were also part of the Chopra Center. And so we had a large community there. My husband worked for Tony Robbins. So he had kind of an expansive group from a few different networks, we, just within our local community, from our kids, involvement as you do with, sports or activities.
But as you know, it was not that long ago. We had things like COVID and all this stuff was getting in the way about the issues of anxiety and depression and the devastating effects that it's had, especially with our little humans. And more research is coming available, and I've been curious to see how this has impacted. Dr. Jules focuses on neurodevelopmental disorders, and she is specifically interested in how teens have been impacted by COVID, social media, and external factors. So we are going to learn all about that today.
Parents are concerned about their children's ability to interact with other people.
Yeah.
And some of the main things that we see in neurodevelopmental differences is that impact on social communication.
Yeah.
And so when we think about social communication, succinctly, nonverbal and verbal means of communicating and how that impacts the way you interact with other people. So it's not just eye contact and it's not just verbal language, but it's also body movements. It's also euphemisms and idioms and sarcasm. So there's a lot that goes into interacting in person that children learn. And we do not talk enough about the fact that there was a time span of 3 years.
What I think that has happened in the last 10 years, one of the things is it's been like a boom in terms of awareness, right? Like there's been this influx of information and knowledge, and it's everywhere. If you are on social media, you can't, you can't scroll up many times without seeing something related to mental health. And it's almost become like a badge of honor to some extent to be able to say, I'm aware of my mental health issues, which is, great, because people are kind of like at least acknowledging mental health is a primary part of our lives. And then, and that's tied, I think, a lot to technology and information, right? I think that the last 10 years, how AI first with the pandemic, this shift into like just simply you don't have to be in the same room, right? The telehealth just becoming like almost like the norm for delivery of services, at least for mental health. And then AI almost like trying to play quarterback or like to mental health services. Those changes are changing the landscape of mental health.
I had a client read like a ChatGPT response that they asked about strategies, and I was like, "You don't need me." Like the response was pretty dope, and then at a faculty meeting, we were using AI for training clinical skills. So it was like a video, and then it read your body language, it read what you said, and then it gave you a score and some feedback for how you could do a better or more effective intervention.
Oh, let me tell you, scary. I have a couple of things that related to that. One, I'm in contact with someone in terms of a collaboration where they are trying to use AI to help couples therapy, so that people would talk to their chat box throughout the week, and then prior to the session, it will provide sort of a summary of what are some of the main points that they had some challenges with or that came up, right? And then to your point about like people using ChatGPT for advice, I had a client share with me a story of someone who used ChatGPT to ask for relationship advice, and the advice was like on
That's good
point.
advice, yeah.
Right. And not only that, but then the person said to me, "Aren't you scared you're going to lose your job?" And the funny thing about that, right? And I responded that I wasn't, and I tell you why I think AI feels like it's a threat to some people, but it's really not, right? The question that came from me was, what did the person do with that information, right? And ultimately, the ChatGPT just simply said, in a nutshell, this person you're with is not seeing your true value, is not validating your emotional experiences. It feels like a toxic relationship. You probably are better off, creating some boundaries. And if this person is not able to respect those boundaries, then you may want to, make decisions about distancing yourself from this relationship, which is, in a nutshell, but it's like pretty good advice, right? So what did the person do with the advice? Well, they continue in their relationship and they ignore it completely, right? And my point about that is that the information and knowledge is not enough. You have to understand how humans function.
So we are bringing you important topics related to mental health. This is my friend and colleague, Dr. Jason Christofiak. He serves as one of the team physicians for Rutgers Athletics, and he is the team physician for the football team there at Rutgers University. Yeah. And so, you've always been great to work with, and what made you kind of think about like mental health in the treatment of concussion, or just did you see in the athletes you were treating that there was like, what did you notice that we were like, hey, I'm glad we have like sports psychology to help us with this?
Yeah, so going back, and obviously we've worked together so much. You know how transparent I am, probably sometimes to a fault.
Yeah.
Going back years, I caught myself not optimizing the care because I was overlooking the behavioral health aspect of it. a lot of these individuals either had some form of baseline depression, anxiety, sometimes even bipolar,
Yeah.
some other comorbidities like ADHD.
Yes.
And I just initially wasn't factoring that in to the best that I could into their management plan. And I always looked at concussion management individually as pillars.
Less than 40% of those actually feel comfortable seeking mental health, support. And so being May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Like, why do you feel, from your perspective as a physician who specializes in concussion management, that there's been this uptick in mental health concerns? Do you think, why do you think, what do you see happening?
It's interesting on the ground. I think people are being more open about it, and complete conjecture. COVID allowed a lot of people to reset, right? Obviously, a lot of individuals had very poor outcomes, unfortunately, because of that.
Right.
But a lot of people were able to reset, have more time to think about these things and say, where are we?
Yeah.
Where is our behavioral health program compared to other people nationally?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That awareness, I think, automatically allowed people to have safer conversations with individuals that they typically wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at all aspects of whatever that sport is.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time, it really boils down to just good sport technique as just one thing to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
There are individuals that are so gifted and talented, but they just have no control of their bodies. They fly over the field, whatever the sport is. They're just flying around. They're putting themselves at risk. So good sport technique is always good. Making sure you're listening to your strength and conditioning coaches to make sure that you're doing an appropriate level of strength and condition and you're not overdoing it. It is an injury that can prevent you from playing sport. And that's a misnomer, right? We always use the word return to play.
Yeah.
Obviously for concussion, so challenging to give a return to play. We can give some ranges, but often they're so individual.
Thank you all for tuning in. If you've been listening for a while, you know how important mental health awareness is to me, and I encourage you all to take steps to make your own mental health a priority. I know with many students heading back to school, whether it's kindergarten, high school, college, whatever, graduate school, new mental health challenges will always arise. It's important to keep your mental health a priority as you begin these new transitions and chapters in your life. So please head to officialdrpete.com for more mental health resources and mental health tips. As always, we want to thank you for being here, and I'll see you all back here next week. Until then, spread a little kindness and be well.